The Blended Learning Grant Program was established by House Bill 3. It provided funding for the planning and execution of a high-quality model. One of the first things we asked ourselves was, is blended learning something that aligns with our vision and the needs of our learners? We had made some investments district-wide. What we needed next was a way to operationalize our efforts and maximize those investments to truly impact teaching and learning. The challenge we faced is one that most districts face. Classrooms are filled with students learning at different levels. Even when teachers can diagnose what each student needs, it's difficult to prepare individual lessons for each student. Checking each student's progress and providing them timely feedback is difficult at best. In those traditional classrooms, teachers are forced to teach to the middle, but that leaves struggling students behind and advanced students feeling unchallenged and uninspired. We were excited to learn about the power of blended learning. It provides each student with an online platform combined with face-to-face teacher instruction and, most importantly, tracking tools so that each student can self-monitor, set goals, and develop that true student agency. Teachers can use real-time diagnostic information to address learning gaps and make those adjustments in real time. We learned that when executed correctly, blended learning can help meet the needs of all students in a way that's sustainable, and students can take ownership of their learning. So we signed, sealed, and delivered our application to the Texas Education Agency, and our journey began. In the fall of 2019, we joined a cohort of districts across Texas when our first grant for math planning was accepted. This grant allowed us to bring on a blended learning specialist and begin the planning phase of this transformational process. What we didn't know at the time was that a history-making pandemic was about to impact all of us. Even so, we stayed focused on our tasks because our students were our big why. For our efforts, we received the go-ahead from the Texas Education Agency in the form of the implementation grant. This allowed us to put into motion everything that we had planned for math instruction. When we learned that another grant opportunity was available, we made the decision to pursue it for English language arts instruction. We were awarded that one in October of 2020, so we are now in the process of planning the blended learning implementation for reading. The grant is set up to provide districts the opportunity to design, launch, scale, and sustain a learning model. So after 4 years, blended learning will be scaled up to impact all grades from kindergarten to 8th grade. The first year is designed to support planning activities. The TEA has set forth rigorous standards that are grounded in best practice to sustain this type of transformation. One of the big outcomes of the planning year is the strategic design or plan. Once this plan gains approval, districts can then move on to implementation. For Uvalde CISD, we planned for the first year to target kinder, 3rd, and 6th grade classrooms in math. Every year, we plan to add a grade level so that all grades in our K-8 feeder pattern are served by the end of the 4-year period. Every year, we target certain goals. We meet weekly to ensure that student software targets are met. We provide weekly time for teachers for data-driven planning. We provide monthly learning opportunities for teachers on blended learning, on data-driven instruction, and on curriculum. We administer proficiency-based interim assessments 3 times a year. And we engage in annual reflection and revision. The first year of planning looked something like this. In January of 2020, our blended learning specialist was hired and we launched our partnership with Engage to Learn. That same month,
in January, we engaged in focus groups of district and community stakeholders. These groups were made up of students, teachers, administrators, school board, and community members. Through this and through surveying, we were able to elicit valuable feedback from them about their views on learning in general and especially 21st century learning. In February, we gathered stakeholders again, but this time we rolled up our sleeves to create a plan. From this 3-day event, our new district learning framework called the Paw Print was developed. The following month, COVID hit, and our district, like many others, went into virtual learning. We rushed to create instructional resources that could be accessed from home. Our home learning site was created as a hub for both teaching and learning resources. Our fast-thinking blended learning specialist created virtual lesson plan templates using the Paw Print model so that our teachers and students had their first interaction with the newly developed framework. In April, we gathered teacher leaders that would help us train others during the back-to-school launch. Because of COVID restrictions, this was done online, and through the process, we became familiar with online PD. By June, our back-to-school training was planned out, and it was time to gather campus leaders. During the Leadership Academy, again held online, principals planned the blended learning launch. They agreed on the messaging and various ways they could kick off this exciting initiative to teachers. In July, we held another online gathering with our Coaches Academy. Again, this was specialized training, providing our coaches, our instructional coaches, the necessary tools to support the blended learning initiative. By this time, we had become pretty familiar with online training that we hosted what we called our summer cruise. This was our first attempt at conducting a full-day virtual conference for our teachers. It was a hit, and our teachers engaged in powerful learning tools to support face-to-face, virtual, and blended learning. As the 2020-2021 academic year was launched, our groups of trained stakeholders led district training on the district paw print and other strategies to support blended learning. And throughout the year, the process has been continually supported through ongoing job-embedded coaching and support provided by our Engage to Learn partners and through the development of our own blended learning leaders.